Hello, my favorite Math 7 class. Well, with the exception of Ike, of course. We're just going to do these problems. Make sure you pause the video and get a piece of paper and a pencil because there are going to be a couple parts where you're going to get to practice. All right, so these are going to be the problems that you're going to be doing. And we'll go through each of them. And remember to pause, and you can rewatch things, come back to it if you want. Essentially, this chapter, what you're going to have to do on 10 marks is you are going to have to do problems that ask you for a percentage of a certain number. There's a couple things that you want to pay attention to. First of all, the word of. Whatever comes after the word of, that's the total. That is the thing you have total of. Now, the word is would signify that you have a part. Okay, where the total is like the whole, the 5 is the part. And you always want to look for the word percent or see a percent sign. So here you can see we have a percent. Here it uses the word what percent, so you don't know the percent. As you do these problems, you just have to set up a proportion. And the proportion is really easy to remember. We say is over of, which is essentially the part over the whole, will always equal the actual percent. You don't need the percent sign, and since a percent is always out of 100, over 100. And I'm going to show you how we use this proportion for each of these problems. And once you get the hang of it, these are really, really easy. First of all, first problem we're going to do is this one right here. What is 18% of 25? Well, okay, so first of all, we set up our is over of equals percent over 100. So in this case, it says, what is 18? So right away, I have the is. So I put the 18 above. Now, let's see if we have the of. Up, here it goes. What is 18% up? You know what? I messed up on this because I didn't read, and I made a very careless mistake. In this problem, it says, what is 18%? So it actually gave me the 18 was the percent. When it says what is, it means I don't have the part. But the 18 is right next to the percent. So what is, so I don't know the is, so I'm going to put an X for the is. The 18 is the percent, so 18 goes over 100, which equals, and it says of 25, so that's the total. Now, once you get a proportion, we're pretty much saying 18% is a really small percent. It's not going to be super small, but you're not going to get a really big number. And you only had 25 wholes. So X is going to be something like, it might be 5, it might be 6, it might be 4 out of 25. But if you do something 18% of the time, and you've only done something 25 times, the X is going to be somewhat small. But to find out what X is, we're going to cross multiply. So 18 times 25, and 18 times 25 is 450. So 450, that's from these two. And then 100 times x is 100x. So then I'm going to divide by 100. And the cool thing about dividing by 100 is you can just you just move the decimal back 2 places. So the decimal, it's imaginary. The number is 450. To divide by 100 means the decimal is going to go 1, 2 back. So you get 4.5. So 4.5 is the part out of 25 that is 18%. Let's do another one. Now we're going to do this one. What percent of 23 is 5? So here we have the part, because it says is 5, of 23. So now we have the whole. What we don't have is the percent. So is over of equals percent over 100. So what percent? So I don't know the percent, so x out of 100, which equals the is the 5, the 23 is the whole. So think of it this way. If you do something only 5 out of 23 times, the percent's not going to be that high. So that'll kind of help us estimate. We're going to cross multiply, and here you get 500 equals, and then x times 23 is 23x. I'm going to divide by 23, and then I just have to do 500 divided by 23, which gets you twice. Goes in 2 times, which is 46. Get a remainder of 4. Bring down my 0. 23 goes into 40. Only 1 time. Put a 23 and I subtract, and you get a remainder of, it's going to be 17. there's nothing to bring down, so I'm going to add a 0.0 and bring down my 0, bring up my point. So you get 170, and 23 goes into 170. If you did that work on the side, it's going to go in only 7 times, so you get 0.7. So I'm not going to keep dividing because I'm going to round this to the nearest whole percent. And since it's 21.7, that would be about 22%. Last one. Oh, sorry. Last one is at the very bottom. Let me erase this. 42 is 25%. So here it gives you the percent. 42 is. So the word is signifies that we have the part, and we don't know of what number. So of, we don't know. So that's the x. The is over the of. 42 over what number is 25 out of 100, because the percent out of 100. So I'm going to multiply across. 25 times x is 25x. 100 times 42 is 42 with 2 zeros, 4,200. And then if I take 4,200, I got to get rid of the 25 and divide it by 25. What you're going to find, 4,200 divided by 25, you end up getting 168 if you do the division. So the whole is 168. And let's just see if that makes sense. 42 out of 168, yeah, it's about a quarter of the time. It's about 25%. So now there's 2 more types of problems that you guys have to do. All right? So first problem is this, is when you have percent word problems. When you have percent word problems, the easiest thing to do is not do a percent proportion. What you're going to do is you're going to use the percent of a number, and it's just multiplication. So if you buy a shirt for $48, but the shirt's 40% off, the way to find out exactly how much was taken off of the shirt is to find out what is 40% of 48. So instead of making a proportion, the way that we can solve these problems is just turn into a decimal, which is 0.4. And then if you do 48 times 0.4, you get, one decimal place, 19.2, which would be, if I add a 0, $19.20. So if I want to know the new price of the shirt, this was the percent that you take off of the shirt. So I do 48.00 minus 19. Notice how I'm lining up the decimals. Oh, I don't have to do that. That's a 10. $28.8, which if you add a 0, that's $28.80 is the new price of the shirt. Here's the same kind of a problem. You have to pay a 6% sales tax on a bill. So here's the total. So if you have to pay a sales tax, we're still going to find out what is the 6%. So I'm going to multiply by 6%, which is 0.06, not 0.6, because that's 60%. So when you multiply by 6, you get 2 decimal places, 1, 2, $7.20. But in this problem, instead of taking the price off of this, when you have sales tax, you have to add it to the $120. So 120.00, so that I can line up the decimals, plus 720 gets me $127.20 will be the total price of the bill. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is to pause the video right now, and I want you to try these 2 problems. And as soon as you're done, I'm going to do them and then you check them. But go ahead and pause the video, and then when you're done, check your answer. All right, so now that you paused the video, here are the answers to this one. 4% of 20. So 4%, remember, it's is over of equals percent over 100. So in this case, 4 out of 100, 4%, equals of 20. So we know that the of is 20. We don't know the x. So I'm going to cross multiply, and you get 4 times 20 is 80, 100x. And then you divide by 100, and 80 divided by 100 is going to be x equals 0.8. All right, next one, what percent, so I don't know the percent, so I'm going to put x over 100, is 35 of 90. So 35 is the part, 90 is the whole. Going to cross multiply. 3,500 equals 90x. And then if I divide by 90, x is going to equal 3,500 divided by 90 is equal to about 39. All right, so try these two more try this one problem. Pause the screen now again. And once you pause it, try this problem, and then I'm going to go through it. All right, hopefully you got a chance to do it. So this is a word problem. So it says after a 15% tip. So before we do anything, we have to find out what is 15% of $26. So I do 26 times, remember the decimal form, 0.15, and 26 times 0.15 is $3.90, and then if I add the two decimals, you get $3.90. Now, I have to figure out, do I add it or subtract it? And since it's a tip, I need to add it back onto my bill. So 26.00 plus, notice I'm lining up the decimals again, you get $29.90 as your total bill. Last one. Oh, that's it. All right, so now, watch this video again if you need to, but otherwise, now you can go on to 10 marks and take your time and do the work.